Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs into true crime.
Ho, 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 unsolved mysteries.
One of Santa's favorites. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
It's about as much enthusiasm as you guys are going to get out of this guy.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's, yeah.
You know what's funny, though? You guys, I'll let you know a little secret. Ben is a sucker for Christmas.
I do love Christmas.
He is obsessed with it. Probably more than I am.
Yeah, I love Christmas. I love the holiday, everything about it.
Everything about it.
Christmas music. I like the Christmas lights, the Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
I love it all.
Yeah. I know Ben thinks I'm a Grinch because
she is
the
a Grinch.
day after Christmas, typically the 26th or 27th, the kind of first like hangover recovery Christmas day, I like to put my earbuds in, catch up on some true crime podcast, and take everything down. Deep clean the house, vacuum, put it away, pack
down. And I petitioned to at least stay up till New Year's, but she refuses.
No.
It's literally 1 week.
No.
And she can't have it.
I don't know what it is. The moment Christmas Day is done, it's time to move on.
I can't have this one thing.
Oh, just this one thing.
This one thing.
I know you guys, his life is so hard here.
Just want
Send help.
One thing, yeah.
Yeah. No, we hope you guys all have a safe and happy holiday, and that it's filled with merriment. I guess for our international people, happy Boxing Day. Isn't that something they celebrate across the pond? The day after Christmas, I think there is called Boxing Day. I'll be honest, I have no clue what Boxing Day is. Somebody said it's something to do with like eating good food and going shopping, maybe?
I don't know.
Here in America, the 26th is just typically like the busiest day for returns, unfortunately.
Not anymore, it's Amazon.
In England, they're celebrating it and doing all these fun things as a family, and we're trying to return gifts that we didn't want.
Yeah.
So, and for everybody down in Australia, I hope you're enjoying the heat and out at the beach. From what I understand, my kids did a project a few years ago, Christmas around the world. And since I have 3 of them, they all had 3 different things, and one of them had Australia. It was very interesting to learn about their Christmas traditions. And just the thought of like celebrating Christmas. Arizona, it's already sometimes 75, 80 degrees here. We have pictures of our kids like playing in the sprinkler. I have a picture when you're Ben setting up. The Santa Claus gift was a trampoline, and Ben is like outside with his shirt off. Like it was hot, and the kids.
It was warm that day.
That same day, we turned the sprinkler on the trampoline for the first time. The kids used it.
Yeah.
But to celebrate it in like what you would consider the middle of summer, like our 4th of July weather, like trying to celebrate Christmas, that seems so backwards to me. But if that's how you've celebrated it your whole life,
yeah, that's what they.
The research the kids did on Christmas down there, it's like people go to the beach and go swimming, and people are like in Santa outfits. It was like really fun looking. Like Australia, I think they know how to party for Christmas.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we will just jump right into it. We are recapping episode 1. Not episode 1. Good night.
Season
1, episode 16. Yeah. And this is a pretty kind of all over there without any sort of paranormal stuff. We got a handful of different things to talk about.
We got, I think, 2 cases that have got conspiracy connected to them.
Yes.
The one of them you're doing, and one of them I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, one of them mine has a conspiracy connected to it. And so with that, we will jump right into it, because this case, while not highly talked about in the public, there's actually quite a bit of media attention locally in California on this story. And then there's a handful of podcasts that have also talked about it. And it's
True
one
crime
of those
podcasts?
cases. Yeah, true crime podcasts. It's one of those cases I feel like could be solved if the right people came forward.
Yeah, but there's some weird things that have happened. Because I looked into this one too, probably not as deep as you did. And it takes a weird turn.
It does. Yeah, it actually takes a weird turn from what just the first few minutes of Unsolved Mysteries, I kind of had an assumption of where this was going to go, and that'll make sense here in a minute. And then where it ended and then where the updates are is just kind of like wild. Yeah. So this is a story about Lester Garnier. Garnier. Garnier.
Yeah, okay.
So on the morning of July 11th, 1988, a groundskeeper noticed a 1984 Corvette parked in a shopping mall parking lot in Walnut Creek, California. Now, this is an affluent area at the time of San Francisco. Okay. The attention to the car, I'm going to assume, was originally because it's a Corvette. It was also parked at a weird angle. Parking lot's empty.
Multiple spaces.
It's taking up multiple spaces, which comes
Corvette
back
people
later.
do.
Yeah. We have some funny thoughts on Corvette people.
Well,
just like kind of,
but they're true.
Idiosyncrasies is what you call them, right? What is they
Well,
always are terrible parkers because they want no one near their car.
They take up multiple spots most of the time.
And two,
and they always have a custom license plate.
Yeah, they always do. You are correct.
I don't know if I've actually ever seen a Corvette without a custom.
It just seems to be one of those things. It's like the Jeep people that wave at each other.
Here's the thing, and this actually, I didn't notice this. I got to give credit where credit's due. Back in the day, I used to listen to sports radio in Portland, and they had the Jim Rome show on, which was a national show.
Okay.
And he just was relentless to Corvette drivers, and he always pointed that out, that custom plate Corvette drivers. And it was so funny.
And I think people that are Corvette drivers, like, it is a lifestyle. It's like the Jeep people. I want to start a minivan lifestyle thing.
It's called children.
Yeah.
That's the lifestyle.
If you have a minivan and you don't have children, or you're not a grandparent, or an old person,
if you're older,
there's something weird about you. But
if you're a single dude driving a minivan.
I love when I am, like, when we've been in a Jeep or rented a Jeep or anything, and the Jeep casual Jeep wave. Yeah. And so
we don't own a Jeep.
We don't own one, but it's on the list for the someday card. Okay. So yeah, he's driving this Corvette, and obviously it's the only car in the parking lot. It gets this groundskeeper's attention. So he casually goes over. He actually goes up to the passenger side and looks through it. Looks like the guy's asleep. His head kind of just leaned on against the window.
He's not asleep.
Unfortunately, he realizes that the victim was not alive and in fact had been shot twice in the head. So execution style. Again, put a pin in that, right? So this is then later identified as the 30-year-old Lester, who actually, we're going to find out, is an undercover vice, which is where I kind of thought this was going. Undercover work is dangerous. I mean, law enforcement a lot of times is dangerous, but undercover work can definitely put the men and women that do this in a more vulnerable position to have enemies. Would you agree or no, you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
They're taking down typically bigger, lucrative organizations.
There's multiple undercovers.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one where you're going undercover for a long period of time, right? I listened to a podcast of a FBI agent who went undercover with the mob for a couple years.
Oh, that would be so hard.
I'm sure everyone. It's a really famous guy, and the name slips me right now. I think there was maybe a movie. I don't know, movie done on it, but So that was tough. But there's also Undercover where literally they're just
this says Undercover Vice, VICE. What does that stand for? Do you know?
So I think they do mostly prostitution, drugs, stuff like that.
Yeah, so organized crime in a way, right? I mean, I guess not mob, but
the point I'm saying is
these are lucrative businesses. Sorry, I interrupted you. Lucrative businesses that have high up people that stand to lose money if they get in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he was doing because a lot of times police departments, their undercover they're just going out, they're trying to pick up prostitutes or do some drug deals, and it's like a day, kind of their day assignment. Well, if you're an undercover, this is what you're doing every day, but you're not trying to integrate into something every single day. And, some guys, they go do this and then they go back to the station and they do their thing. They're not trying to, I don't know.
Yeah, there's variant. Yeah.
So I don't know it sounded like he was doing this on a daily.
Yeah.
He was still going back to the station, stuff like that.
The study of as victimology goes, I feel like this put him in a little bit of a higher risk category for coming into contact with people who might not be thrilled to find out he was a cop. So he lived nearby Concord, working as a police officer in San Francisco. So he was working in the main city. He also had a reputation of being very dedicated to his family, especially his parents, and I believe he had a sibling, a younger sister. And I read some more on him. He was financially very successful and well off, but a big drive of that was him providing this kind of home and safety for his family. That was really important to him.
Did you catch, though? I had a massive problem with this part. So they tell us that he's an undercover. Then they go back to Robert Stack and he's in the police station.
Oh, I think the very next line I have written down is however, he had a reputation for being a ladies' man. Is that what because they don't unpack anything else about that. What does that mean? So
no, I have a massive problem with this because just when he's describing that, do you notice what Robert Stack says?
No, what did he say?
He says, Lester Garnier is a walking contradiction.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And here's was his contradiction. He then tells us that he was a dedicated family man who, I guess, he helped provide for his parents. He took care of his parents. And we get interviewed by his mom, and she speaks highly of him. Then he's this ladies' man who loves the good life with his Corvette. Yeah. But then he's a dedicated cop. And
he's a single guy. I guess I was expecting okay, are we going to find out that he's married and this is a walking contradiction? But no, he's single. He's a single man.
Yes, that's the problem.
Who has a Corvette and likes to pick up, and that's the other thing. It wasn't like he'd been in trouble for picking up sex workers. He was known to be flirtatious and date a lot. I'm guessing he was a player. Guess what? You're allowed to be all of those things. You're a single adult male. As long as the female is consenting, have as many relationships as you want to.
Well, because they then say that most of his undercover work was with prostitutions. Mm-hmm. He would pretend to be a John and go out, and then they would. But so I'm thinking, was he kind of supposedly dirty? No.
No, he actually had an amazing reputation amongst the sex workers who said that out of all of the Johns, or quote unquote pretend, right?
The undercovers.
That he treated them with respect, which I imagine at this time in San Francisco with the police was not a common practice.
I guess I was waiting for where the contradiction is you're telling me this guy is this walking, that was his exact words, a walking contradiction.
Yeah.
But because and I'm trying to figure out, where's the contradiction? He was a family man, or he loved his parents.
Yeah.
Took care of them. He was a good police officer.
Yeah.
According to the police officers,
And the people he arrested actually said the same thing about him. He was a good police officer.
That he was a bad cop.
Yeah.
But because he was single, he liked to drive a nice car and go on dates with women.
I know. How many single guys do you work with who, like, their favorite thing is their choice of vehicle, and that they live a comfortable lifestyle, and that they get to go out and meet lots of women.
Those are the three things that Robert Stack tells us, that he's a walking contradiction. And I'm like, where's the contradiction?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
That's
a fair point, that it was kind of like, there was no ex-girlfriend on here that was like saying bad things, or that he was abusive or bad to her or whatever. Okay, so maybe the biggest contradiction is he loved family life but wasn't interested in settling down.
I guess I was waiting
fair, but that's not really like some dramatic thing for a 30-year-old man. The way he paints him in that way, you're thinking, oh, he did something kind of dirty to get himself in trouble. But then they never give us any backing or evidence that might be true. No, he never.
Anyways,
in all of the research I found, there was not ever anything noted or said that he was in any sort of potential trouble with work or in his personal life with finances or anything at all like that.
That was my only thing on that one.
That's interesting. Okay. So he worked mostly in the Mission District of San Francisco, like Ben said, pretending to be an undercover John looking to hire sex workers. Police questioned several women that he had arrested, and they often spoke highly of him, leading investigators to believe that none of the women had anything to do with his murder. So they're kind of ruled out early on. However, and this is kind of where the conspiracies start to come in, it was discovered that around the time of his murder, he was investigating a local brothel rumored to be attended by fellow police officers and civic leaders in the San Francisco area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Higher ups.
So rumors had started that he was potentially killed by a corrupt cop in the police department or by a man named, I'm not going to say his name because, again, this man was technically cleared. You can have your opinion about it. His name was Roger. He was a
mayoral candidate.
Mayoral candidate.
They didn't say if he won or not, though. I didn't look that up.
Sounds like he dropped out after.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Because he got arrested.
Not allegations. And this is, okay, again, not full disclosure, but disclosure. We use different terminology now than they did in the 80s when this was shown. It says that he was caught having sex with underage prostitutes.
Okay, that's
not a thing.
You can't be underage and a prostitute.
Yeah, you cannot be.
That's what we call.
You cannot work in that industry under the age and be a consenting person.
That's called trafficking.
That's called trafficking. Yeah. So he was caught raping young girls.
Yeah.
And
so
in an organized, in a sex trafficking. Yeah, he was arrested. And we can get into it. He pled guilty to the charges in 1988 and basically, and this shows again how corrupt everything was, he got like a year of probation.
Shocking.
This man, and here's the thing, it ended up being like 18 counts. Like there was multiple girls that he had done this to in this organization, and he got a year of probation.
That's a crime for another
but
podcast.
And I would say there is a podcast that goes deeper into that. I highly recommend it, and I'll give a shout out.
But Lester was
one of the people. And that's the other thing too. He was on a team. It wasn't just him. He was on a team.
Team investigating this prostitution
brought this ring down. Exactly.
Yeah.
However, this is someone I think outside of this police department should have probably investigated this, but the actual investigators were also like, the calls were coming from inside the house, said these allegations are like that this could be tied to his death is like there's no credibility to it.
Well, because the Walnut Creek Police Department is the one that ran the investigation.
But the San Francisco Police Department also inserted themselves into this because it was one of their own.
From what I read, there was a lot of friction between the two.
Which obviously doesn't help the situation either.
Yeah.
So now we kind of get a breakdown of the timeline. So they go back and they retrace Lester's steps on the night of his murder. So July 10th, about 12 hours before he was found, he left his home in Concord to meet up with some friends in San Francisco. I actually found out he was meeting with a buddy that he was getting ready to start a hot dog stand with.
Okay.
They had filed actually and been approved for business permits for this, and they were set the next morning to meet at the courthouse to pick that paperwork up, and he never showed up.
Maybe it was competition in the hot dog business.
In the hot dog business. So about 20 minutes after leaving his home, he called his friends from his car phone.
Dude, I loved
that.
That was awesome.
Yep. Did you ever know anyone that had a car phone?
No. I always wanted to
I
know
did.
someone.
I had a couple of like...
That's so cool.
But they were like, don't even look at that car phone, because to make a call on it,
I bet it
was insanely expensive. Did you ever know anyone who had the original like mobile phone that like had a purse with it? It was like a black bag that came with it?
No.
No.
I knew someone that had the big brick.
Oh, yeah.
The big gray brick. My friend's dad.
The Zach Morris phone from Saved by the Bell, the one who used to make phone calls, deliver pizza.
I have no idea. No.
Did you not watch Saved by the Bell?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Here and there, but no, I didn't watch that religiously.
I did. I loved Zach Morris.
That's shocking. What about Slater?
Also very attractive. Yeah, I was into both of those boys.
That's shocking.
Yeah. So he makes the call from his car phone to cancel plans and never told them why he was canceling, other than that he was just kind of running late. He didn't think he was going to make it, so go ahead and watch the movie without him. So this is where we lose track of him. We have no idea where he went between that time and when the car is spotted later, which is a big time gap. Yeah.
It's, like I said, it was almost 12 hours.
Yeah. So authorities located a witness who was laying carpet at one of the buildings next to the parking lot, and he thought he had heard firecrackers.
It was late at night, right?
It was late at night, yeah. And it was also right around the 4th of July. So we know from complaining neighbors that post on Facebook, people love to do fireworks several days before and several days after.
Yeah.
What did these people do before Facebook? Who did they complain to about the fireworks?
The police.
Police are probably like, Facebook neighborhood groups are the best thing that's ever happened to us, because we don't get calls to deal with like noise complaints about fireworks.
They will. We know they
on July
do.
3rd. Yeah. So he didn't really pay attention to the fireworks because it's the 4th of July. However, a few seconds later, he was in the parking lot area putting some supplies in his van, and he saw 2 women walking away from the area. And he said that they entered into 2 separate vehicles and left.
Yeah.
Okay. Another witness happened to be driving through the parking lot, saw the same group, 2 women, and he saw one of them get out of the passenger side of Lester's Corvette and walk around to the driver's side to look into the Corvette. I honestly think one of the reasons we even have these witnesses is because this was a Corvette. Like, it gets people's attention.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, you don't notice a Corolla, but you notice a Corvette.
Yeah, you're going to notice that car. And I think in a weird way, like, that helped, generate some of these first couple leads.
The guy saw a female getting out of a Corvette. You know what he was thinking.
Yeah. It's parked all askew. He's probably like,
"What's
it's an
going
empty
on in that
parking lot.
Corvette?
And she like walks over to the passenger side or the driver's side.
So they remember.
Yeah. They're going to be like, oh, that was an interesting thing. I don't think I was supposed to see that. Right.
I wonder what was going on.
Yeah. So he helps make a composite sketch of the woman.
Did you hear how he made it?
Yes, Ben. I heard
Come on,
how.
don't skip that. How did he make it?
Under hypnosis. He makes a composite sketch of the woman.
All right.
But then they show it to the carpet layer and he's like, yeah, that's the woman. So maybe the hypnosis worked.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So the women had not been identified, but the police are obviously certain they have something to do with this death. Authorities found fingerprints on the car that they believe belong to the killer. And the $250,000 reward is being offered in the arrest.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot
Especially
of money.
back then.
Yeah. Shoot, I didn't do adjusted for inflation.
It's about $750,000. Almost.
Yeah. So that's where they leave us in the episode.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of information.
They show us the sketch of the female.
Yeah, it looks like every woman in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
She had like crazy hair and shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads. Yeah, I noticed that. The jacket with shoulder pads.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you ready for your update?
I am. I looked into this one. So
you did? Okay. So it's unsolved still.
Yep.
Okay.
I bet there was a rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
I know.
You guys, I'm going to just give you the highlights of the rabbit holes. So the podcast that I listened to, which we've referred to a couple of times, The Trail Went Cold.
It's a very good podcast.
Very good podcast. They have a sister podcast called The Trail Went Chilly. I think it's still for things that are like, there's still a possibility for this to be solved. They did a 2-parter on this. And each of the parters are like 45 minutes long. It goes into a lot more detail, interviews, background information, all kinds of stuff. I highly recommend listening to that episode because I'm going to give you the highlights, but it's going to give you way more information. So in 2008, the shorter woman seen leaving Lester's car was identified as a Scottish woman named Catherine. Catherine Kuntz, Kuntz.
So they ran her prints and they hit. Okay.
Her fingerprints match those found in his car. Okay. She is the prime suspect in this case. Police have stated that they believe she was involved with the murder. At the time, she was working as a sex worker living in the area. In 1991, she was arrested in Virginia for conspiracy to commit murder. She allegedly had hired 2 people to kill her then husband. Fortunately, they were unsuccessful, so he made it out. However, the charges of conspiracy against her were dropped, and she later pled to assault. She was released from a Florida prison in June of 2008, where she was held on unrelated charges, and then she was deported.
Yeah, I saw that she was deported back to, Scotland?
Mm-hmm. Despite the fingerprints matching, the police claim they don't have enough evidence to do anything about it.
Okay. So she did time in Virginia, but she also did time in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
What'd she do time in Florida for?
I think a drug charge.
Okay.
So they say that they don't have enough evidence to file any murder charges against her. And they also suspect that there was at least another person involved with the murder.
But what was the tie between her and him? Was she just a prostitute?
We don't have that information.
So I did read, though. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. So there is an online magazine who published a story about this in 2003. It's called the SF Gate. I'm going to guess that stands for San Francisco Gate.
One too.
A theory that fellow officers involved in the murder emerged soon after his death. Over the years, a number of San Francisco police officers, male and female, have come under suspicion, including a man who had risen to second in command of the department. His name is Alex Fagan, Fagan. Fagan. An interview in this article, Assistant Chief Fagan said that he was aware... Fagan? Wouldn't that be E-N? Fagin. I know it does. I feel like I'm saying a bad word. For the record, I am saying someone's last name.
Oh, that's what I would just say, Fagin.
He is aware that he is being investigated, but denies any involvement.
That's shocking.
Yeah. And according to ABC 7 News, Walnut Creek Police Department, Tim Schultz said in a news conference in the early 2000s, "We don't have a motive. We have no murder weapon."
So do you know why those police officers why they were believed that it was a police officer from the San Francisco Police Department?
No, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
The gun that killed him came from it was a caliber like a 38 or something.
I saw the weapon, but obviously I don't know anything about guns, so I
didn't write this down. But it was a very common backup gun, I guess, at the time for San Francisco police officers.
Interesting.
It was very widely used amongst them. So the minute they found out it was this gun used, they suspected. And
and
they said they said at least 10 police officers submitted their backup weapons for ballistics, but none of them matched.
Yeah, so ballistics, that means there must be shell casings there?
No, the ballistics, it's the bullet.
Okay, so does that mean the bullets? Oh, I guess they would have been in. Oh,
so
yeah, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, real quick before I guess you and I kind of talk about if we have any thoughts on it. The Walnut Creek Police Department still considers this an open case. Anyone who has information is encouraged to call. The phone number is 925-943-5868. Again, that's 925-943-5868. And for even a deeper dive on this, the Path Went Chili did a two-parter episode on this. So I don't think for me that there's enough evidence to say that this didn't have anything to do with some sort of insider job potentially happening. When you start the fact that that man who was running for mayor at the time got a year of probation shows that favors are being done.
Yeah, I think there is so many things of evidence and different things that have happened throughout time where there's a lot of corruption in government, politicians, things like that. So that doesn't surprise me.
And high up, you're talking outside police officers, high up police officials are a lot of the times, those are appointed positions.
Yeah, chief of polices are appointed positions. It is a political position.
Yeah. I think people tend to forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
Isn't the DA political position?
DA is no. The DA runs.
Oh, they run. But
So
they're still
elected.
voted in, I guess. Okay, yeah.
Sheriffs are elected.
Okay.
Chief of polices are not. Or commissioners. I mean, it just depends. Every city and state does it
breaks
differently.
it down, yeah.
But yeah, they're appointed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point. Like, how did this female tie back to this police officer? There was no information that he'd ever arrested her before. Who had she worked with before? Was she an informant with someone? Like, she wasn't there by happenstance. This was not a random meeting.
Yeah.
I guess this wasn't a random meeting as far as the connection goes. Now, I don't know, because he'd worked Vice before, if he thought he was meeting an informant or informer or something.
But he wasn't working.
He wasn't working, I know, but he was also
going
the kind of
out.
police officer who seemed to take his job very serious. And I can imagine that he gets a phone call. His parents did say in a different interview, and maybe it was on this, that before he left, he got 2 back-to-back phone calls at the house.
I read that. I read that.
They have no way.
They have no
Again,
idea.
no one ever investigated who.
No one knows who it was or what the phone call
Yeah.
was about. This is the thing about this case, though. that it is so wide open that you could literally, you could go down any rabbit hole.
Yeah.
There is no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And it clearly, this investigation was botched from the beginning.
Yeah.
To the point where now you can't draw any conclusions.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could draw every conclusion.
And that's the problem, right?
There's no evidence that points you in one direction or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Unsolved Mysteries even puts it out there as that.
Yeah.
That
I guess there's just not enough evidence to eliminate that this wasn't some sort of internal corruption. There's not enough evidence to eliminate the San Francisco police officers or the department. There's not enough evidence to point that this wasn't just an accidental, did he pull into a parking lot to do something and then saw the wrong thing? Again, we have no evidence of any of those things. The fact that he was shot in the head by 2 bullets, execution style, goes, in my opinion, means that is very calculated. He wasn't robbed. He was well off. He had a lot of things going for him.
his car wasn't stolen.
He didn't have a report of a lot of enemies, so you can't even go down that rabbit hole. It's, a very wide open case. And I don't know how we have a woman who had fingerprints who was deported who could not at least, it didn't even seem like they brought her in for questioning. I mean, the quote is, "We don't have a motive." Well, first off, you don't have to have a motive to prove anything in court. And we don't have a murder weapon. Okay, again, how many times does a murder weapon have to be found in order to bring something forward?
I guess that statement I find funny because we don't have a motive. Yeah, but you have her fingerprints at the crime scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why was she there?
Yeah. That's more than enough to grill her over.
Yeah.
But you're almost dismissing that and saying, well, we need something else.
And actually, there's a handful of motives that a lot of people have found, but you're choosing to say that's not. And that's the police department has also come out so many times and been like, that had nothing to do with us. So you're eliminating the biggest motive that there's no evidence really to eliminate that quite yet, at least that we know of, because this is an open case. There could be evidence that we don't have, but
that's true. Oh, what I'm saying, it's too bad because no matter how you slice it, however way you want to believe, if you want to believe that the department is dirty and police officers did it, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to believe that it was this, you can. There is nothing to point you in any direction.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because, one, it's an injustice for him.
Yeah.
But
by all accounts, he seems like a very good, hardworking man. Yeah.
There's a lot of fingers that are getting pointed that shouldn't be, and they should be directed at this way or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's clearly, it is one of the most, I guess, the one that we've talked about this long, that is so wide open that there's literally nothing.
Until someone probably comes forward.
I mean, I guess
and gives some information, then I don't know.
It is wild to me that you have at least put one person at the crime scene, but you can't even, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But you won't even talk to her? Or maybe they did, they just haven't released anything that she said.
They didn't make it seem like it was really that big of a priority.
When I read about that, they were almost dismissive.
That's what I mean. It seemed flippant. The police department seemed flippant about.
Yeah, her fingerprints were there, but like, that's the best. That's the biggest lead
especially
you guys have
in
had
that time. That was the only thing you guys did was dust for fingerprints.
So it was crazy to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways,
well,
sorry we beat that.
So, all right, Benjamin, what do you got for us?
All right, I have the disappearance of a Kathy Hobbs in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's a sad story.
A very sad story.
So, on the evening of July 23rd, 1987, 16-year-old Kathy Hobbs was reading a book in her room, and right around 11 o'clock, she goes out to her mother and says, hey, I guess she finished her book, and she goes, I'm going to go down to the store and buy a new book. Her mom tells us this is not uncommon.
Yeah.
They live in Vegas, obviously in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And a block and a half away is they didn't tell us, but it's a major store, a 24-hour store.
Yeah.
So she walked down to this store many of times, even late at night, would get what she needed and come home. So Kathy tells us, give me a kiss before I leave, Mom. She goes, I'll be awake when you get back. She goes, well, I'm going to talk to my friends. I guess a lot of the kids in the apartment complex that she'd made friends with, they hung out around the pool. And she was going to talk to them. Usually someone went with her. And she goes, I might be a little while. I might hang out there at the pool with my friends. She was like, okay. So Mom ends up going to bed. Mm-hmm. She gets up the next morning. Kathy's gone.
This is like a parent's worst
She's
fear.
Not in her room.
Yeah.
She's gone. She starts looking for her, calling. Can't find her.
Yeah.
Talk to friends. They don't know. She calls the police.
Well, she said to talk to friends. It turns out no one was at the pool.
Yes. We find out later no one was outside that evening hanging out around the pool that night. So Kathy just went to the store herself. Mm-hmm. She calls the police, files a missing persons, and it sounds like the police took it very seriously. They got her.
I say this is the first time that we're hearing like people, instead of saying you got to wait 24 hours, they were on it immediately.
Police searching. Not that they had her face on the news.
Yeah, it's like she made the news that night.
Yeah, she was on the news right away.
We see the news reports. Yeah.
Yeah. They show us the news report, and so I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah, so they start searching, trying to retrace her steps. They do end up finding that someone at 1117 had purchased a paperback novel at the store.
Yeah.
And I guess where this is, it's a massive intersection. It's big.
Yeah, from what I read, it is like a well-known, very crazy busy, and this is not the Strip, but it is around Vegas, where it seems like...
Well, the police officer...
24/7 there are people around. This is not a quiet, empty area of town.
The detective literally says, this is a massive intersection that people are coming and going 24/7.
Yeah.
It's Vegas. There are people out at 11, 12,
1 2, 3 in the morning.
All the time. He goes, it is not uncommon for people to go in and out of this store. He goes, so what he was saying is it's hard to narrow. No one had really seen her. Even the workers at the store couldn't really identify.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh yeah, we were empty and one girl came in and bought a book, and that was the only customer for that that hour.
So that is the last clue they could find, that at 1117 someone had purchased a paperback novel at that store. Then we get into Kathy's history.
Yeah,
her mom is divorced. Mm-hmm. I guess she was close with her dad, but they were having problems. They didn't tell us where they were living before, but she is divorced, and Kathy she's got some ideas. I guess at 8 years old.
Yeah.
This was weird, but at 8 years old, she supposedly had a premonition that she wasn't going to live to see her 16th birthday.
Yeah. This broke my heart because this is a child whose parents obviously ended up getting divorced. There was probably some turmoil and stress and anxiety happening in the house. It also seemed like she might have had some bullying issues at school.
Yeah, they don't get into a lot of details. I think that was probably
But I think when you encompass all of that, and then, yes, you have this child who starts feeling like she does not have a lot of time left on her life, is so heartbreaking.
Yeah. She talked about it a lot with her mom, I guess. She just said that she wasn't going to live to be an adult. She was going to die before she was 16. Yeah. It was something that she brought up a lot. She just had
this feeling. And
to the point
even
where
her sister, everyone knew that she talked about this.
She became a recluse, hung out in her room a lot.
And, she started cutting off. There was no point in making plans, making friends, like a lot of these things. And at first I thought, did she go and take her own life? Because that sounds like depressiveness, right? Cutting off things, not making plans or anything. But that was and oddly, in contrast, she was doing a lot of other things in her life. She loved her family, was very well connected, just seemed to be like at peace with this decision or this idea that she was not going to live to adulthood.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah.
So, Mom tells us this, and I guess eventually she clearly does hit her 16th birthday.
Yeah.
And she tells us the minute on her birthday, she comes out. She's like, Mom, I made it to 16. It
reinvigorated her. Yeah.
She started making friends. She started making plans for the future.
Yeah.
She wanted, like, they'd
even relocated, right? Because all of this tension and problems.
She's relocated to the Vegas.
Yeah.
Now she turns
16. And she starts to flourish again.
And that's where she made these friends at the apartment complex, all these things.
Yeah, she made plans. She was going to start beauty school. Yeah. She wanted to open up her own hair salon.
Called Cat's Cuts.
Yeah, she had all of these fun plans and was starting to get excited about this kind of next chapter of her life.
Yeah. Her mom said she was a different girl.
Yeah.
3 months later, this happens. Yeah. She disappears. Mm-hmm. So, turns out 9 days after she disappeared, they continue searching. They continue putting her name out on the news. 9 days later, a man is at Lake Mead looking for rocks, which I was like, that is a Sierra thing.
I love looking for rocks. I think it's so fun.
Yeah, he was off the road. She said a few hundred feet off the road, and he said he smelled something terrible. And he goes and looks. It's a body.
Yeah.
He said he was so distraught. Like, he had to sit down and just collect himself. Because they interview him.
Yeah.
You could tell it clearly shook the guy.
Yeah.
Goes and gets the ranger. They identify it is, it's Kathy. So now we know.
She's deceased. Yeah. She's been murdered.
Yeah. I will say this part got a little weird. The detective. He says it was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
He says something weird, and I was like, okay. He says he goes, it was so crazy. I just wanted to go home and grab my daughter and bring her there and show her and say, this is why I tell you can't go out late at night.
I thought that was a weird,
that's
okay.
a little. I was like, that escalated.
That's too much parenting,
yeah.
good sir.
But I understand what he's saying. Clearly, it shook him too.
Yes.
I get that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the last clue we have is they said 3 months after this, someone calls and leaves a message at the police station.
This was wild.
Yes. He says that he's been out of town, but he saw something 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. He saw someone forcing a girl into a car.
Who was kicking and screaming and making a scene.
But clearly he didn't think it was important enough to call it that time. He was going to wait 3 months to call it.
Or get involved. I just think, I don't know who this man is, and maybe I should not.
No, I'm sorry. If you see that, I don't care who you are. If you see that and you think I'll call 3 months later, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, he got a partial and that's it. He even wrote down or what he thought was the license plate. So this man took the time to say, a young girl kicking and screaming is being thrown into the back of a car. I'm going to write down the license plate. And then I'm going to leave and go home and go to bed. And then I'll wait 3 months because I have to go out of town.
I'm going to go out of town.
And I'll call when I get back.
Yeah.
What?
I don't.
Also do something.
They played.
Get involved.
They played the message, the actual message that he left. He even describes what the girl was wearing.
Yeah, he had a very vivid memory of this.
He says that one of the men called the other guy Robbie.
Yeah.
And he gave a license plate. They run the license plate. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So they're actually on the news. They're putting this out there.
The guy didn't give his name. No way to contact him back.
They're pleading for him to call back. They just want to talk to him. Like, you don't even have to tell us who you are, but we really need to talk to you and ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
And just clarification questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's where it leaves us.
Yeah.
That is Unsolved Mysteries tell us.
They're looking for
is
this
our case.
person.
They're looking for this guy.
Or any
It's like,
information.
hey, if you're watching, could you call him? Or if anyone else, if you saw something on this night, could you please call us?
Yeah.
So that's where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. Are you ready for your update?
Yeah.
All right. So this is technically still unsolved.
Yeah.
But they don't believe it's unsolved.
Yeah.
They believe the man that did this is dead.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ATM one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they believe the man that did this is called Michael Lee Lockhart. And he is technically a serial killer.
Oh, awesome.
Well, by definition.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull this up, what I had. I pulled up his thing. There it is. So he was killed in Texas. He was
executed, right?
He got the death penalty in Texas for killing a police officer.
Okay.
He supposedly went on a rampage in 1987 and 1988. He is accused and convicted of killing a 16-year-old girl in Griffith, Indiana. Then he supposedly sexually assaulted his ex-wife in Ohio. And he murdered, and they say murder and mutilation of a 14-year-old in Florida. Then he killed a police officer in Texas. I read multiple things about this.
Okay.
He supposedly was all over the United
Obviously.
States. He was stealing cars, sexually assaulting and murdering young girls. I guess a police officer in Texas ran this plate, found out this vehicle was stolen. Followed the guy, pulled into a motel. I read about the case that he was convicted of. Mm-hmm. Police officer followed him in. A fight ensued. He shot him twice and killed the officer. He was caught, convicted, and executed, like within 6 years.
Oh.
Go Texas.
Texas does things a little
But he was
different.
also convicted of those other two murders of those young girls in Indiana and Florida.
Okay.
So this was one article I read. The reason they believe this man is guilty of Kathy Hobbs' murder also, supposedly they have some receipts that tie him to the area at that time and his MO. This is, I guess, he had tied these girls up and cut them. He tortured them a little bit.
He tortured them.
And the way, because they never say how Kathy's body is or give us any details. And I'm going to guess that that's why the man and the police officer were so distraught. There's supposedly things that a lot of what they saw in those other two young girls that he killed matched his MO. There's nothing to tie us directly, but they do believe he's the one that did it. He was convicted in Texas and killed.
Okay.
He's dead.
All right.
So, sad story. It's too bad that they were never able to really bring it to trial and put it to him directly. Mm-hmm. But kind of makes me think, it might be still unsolved. But I think the police...
I wonder who the second guy was, though, that was helping her putting her in the back of the car.
I will say that's the only thing that doesn't make any sense is that witness says that.
Yeah.
There's no other supposedly evidence that he was working with someone else. I don't know.
And maybe it wasn't necessary. Maybe that second person was actually trying to stop. I don't know. It could have been, it's a busy area. So
I'm just saying, this is speculation. Technically, we don't know.
Yeah. Well, our next story is a little lighthearted, so maybe it'll give us a little breather for a minute.
From murder.
What?
From murder.
From murder, yeah. So this is another lost love or family member story. Okay?
What?
What?
What'd you say? It was what? Lost love?
That's what they call these segments, as lost love, which always makes me think of like intimacy relationships, right? But yeah, this is a lost family member. So
when you say lost love, you know what it reminds me of?
What?
Do you remember, was it Craigslist where it had those
missed connections?
Yeah.
I bet you could do a whole podcast on just reading old missed connection posts. Yeah. Did you ever read through those?
No, I didn't. Some people, I had heard some of them and that. But
yeah,
no,
they're wild. So
I didn't have any misconnections.
You never posted any misconnections?
No, the best connection I had was you, and I married you. So.
And you married. There you go. So it all worked out for you. You didn't have to post on Craigslist.
No.
So this is a story about a missing sister named Jackie Harrington. So Unsolved Mysteries introduces us to 62-year-old Bill, formerly Harrington, but his adoption name is Purton, Purinton.
Every time Sierra spells something,
you guys,
she looks at me like,
double check.
Did I say that?
Terrible pronunciator of last names.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it. And she thinks that I'm
spelling it so that people in the car who were like, that can't be right, or anyone that's listening to us, they then can correct it in their minds. So
because they're going to hear the spelling, they're going to see it, and they're going to know.
They're going to know exactly what's going on. Yeah. Right. So he's a retired businessman from New Hampshire who is searching for his long-lost sister, Jackie. And then we get this terribly weird, uncomfortable story that I have a lot of questions on, but we will get no more answers, so don't ask.
So many questions.
In 1934, the Harrington family lived in Hartwick, New York. They are struggling to survive.
It's the Depression.
The Great Depression. I don't think that this was uncommon that maybe children, especially there's 6 of them?
6 kids.
6 kids are having a hard time with families with that many children during this time. The 6 children were staying at home alone during the day while their parents were both working. So both parents are trying to bring home an income.
Probably, again, not uncommon at the time.
Mm-hmm. On August 3rd, 1934, the Harrington children were having a birthday party for Bill and the younger sister, Jackie. However, that afternoon, their lives would change forever. Nosy neighbors had felt that the 4 younger children were being neglected, which I have a lot of questions. Why just the younger 4? There were 6 kids.
I thought it was the younger 3.
Mm-mm. The younger 4 children were being neglected and reported the family to the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
So CPS. Nowadays, it's CPS.
It's different. Yeah. So at the time, quick little history lesson for you guys. Back in the old times, beating your children or neglecting them or forcing them to work or do whatever was considered a personal matter that nobody was going to get involved in, right? In fact, there was a time period for a little while where there was more protection on pets and animals, cruelty to animals, than there was on children. That's a sad, dark part of our history, I think. However,
you could put it that way, or you could just put it if the government didn't get involved in everyone's personal life.
Yeah, I mean, that is technically, you want to get the libertarian viewpoint of it is...
We're not talking politics, but some people might write it as the government didn't stop parents from abusing children. Or it could just be written as there was no laws for the government to go into people's homes.
It's really hard because I know of some very good CPS stories that have saved children's lives, correct? But there is several even podcasts on this, where CPS has gotten things horribly wrong and messed things up and crossed boundaries and lines that they should have not. I have no information on this family. These children that are all interviewed and gathered together at the end of this segment don't seem to think that their lives were bad.
Yeah. Don't. All I'm saying is, it depends on the perspective. This is a debate that could probably go on for hours amongst people, and I'm not here to debate CPS, that, whatever.
What I have a problem with is, according to the accounts on Unsolved Mysteries, now again, none of this information can be verified or any way, shape, or form.
We have no idea
that the social workers arrived. So at the time, and I still think to this day, this is a nonprofit organization. This is not necessarily a government organization.
Okay. So that opens up a whole nother can
And again, I don't
questions.
know when it was absorbed potentially under the umbrella of whatever.
How can a private organization then take children out of the home?
Well, it sounds like the Society for Prevention of Cruelty in Children campaigned and helped pass laws that protected children. So they also have a reporting line, but I think then they take that and pass that information on to the government agency, from my understanding. Again, I did about 15 minutes of trying to find out, but again, the records that were taken at that time, there's no information on this, okay?
Yeah, but they're the ones that took them.
That's the problem. So the society workers arrived while the parents are not at home.
Yeah, again, there's so many questions.
I don't know if there was an investigation done. I don't know if there was interviews done. Nothing.
We don't know.
Nothing.
Well, and Bill doesn't know. He's a little kid.
Exactly.
He's 8 years old at the time.
Yeah. I even tried to look to see if they had records of what their protocol was for removing children from the home at that time. There's no documentation on that either.
Shocking.
Yeah. So the social workers hang out at the house.
That was the crazy thing.
Let them finish the birthday party and then drag the 4 children away from the home, leaving the oldest 2 behind.
I thought they said they only took 3.
It says on all my notes, it says 4.
I thought in the thing they only said they took the bottom 3.
I think it was 3 others and Bill, who was 8 at the time. I thought it was Bill and his 3 younger siblings.
Maybe that's how they said it, and I was just hearing 3.
So Bill was, at the time, he was 8, and he was the oldest of the 4. So again, the older 2 siblings could have not been that much. It wasn't like it was a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old still left at home.
No, yeah.
Again, no information.
But in the reenact, these people, strangers, are just hanging out in the house having a birthday party with these kids.
Yeah, it was really weird.
And I'm thinking to myself, so you have a problem with the parents, but you guys don't have a problem coming into someone's home and hanging out with some kids and having a party with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
who's the weirdo
were
now?
the parents informed that this was happening? I don't know what the protocol was back then. Was it common practice that you could show up at your house and half your children are gone?
Yeah, I'd be kind of ticked.
Yeah. So the social workers then lie to the children and say that they're going to go on a trip.
A trip,
Yeah. Bill says, so he's excited. He thinks he's going to get to potentially go on a train and get to do all these experiences that he's never had before, until he realizes at some point he finally puts together that he would not be returning home. And then the society adopts out all 4 of the younger children.
To different states?
No, they were all in New York, but to different families inside the state of New York. Again, how did that happen? What rights were the parents to fight against this? I don't know.
And I will say, we are not given any information on
Yeah,
this.
I could be maybe
so
these kids were in a really bad way. I don't know.
There's clearly a lot more to this story than's being told.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's being told from Bill, who
was 8 at the time.
Yeah. So he doesn't even know.
So Bill lived with his adopted family until his teenage years. Then he joined the military and served in the Second World War. When the war ended, Bill began searching for his siblings and his parents. It was a lot more difficult back then.
Well, he says he started in the 40s.
Yeah. He made no progress until 1976.
But I find it interesting. You ripped this kid out of this home. tell him it's so bad. Clearly, it was not that bad, because he says, literally from, I think he said he was 22.
Yeah. He wants to find his family.
He remembers.
Yeah.
And it is that important to him. He says, I will search my entire life.
And he does.
My old family.
Yeah.
But it literally takes him 30 years
yeah, he
to
makes
even
no
make headway.
progress until 1976 when he wrote to the records clerk in Hadwick, New York. Just as the clerk was replying to Bill's letter, this is a random encounter. A visitor arrives.
Yeah, talk about divine intervention.
Yeah. A customer or someone comes in and either sees or hears who Bill is looking for, and it says, oh, I actually know Wanda or Wanda's parents or something. Let me get you her information.
She moved.
Yeah, she moved.
She says, yeah, she moved. They're out.
They're
out
in California or something. Yeah, they're out west.
And the clerk says, well, do you have an address? She goes, yeah, I got it at my house.
Yeah.
Let me go get it.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
I know. So Bill gets this information. So he then sends a letter to his sister Wanda. She writes him back and says, you can give me a call. Remember back in the old days, we had to wait for letters. Like, this is half the reason this took so long.
Yep.
So he gets the letter back after months of snail mail, gives her a call, and they reconnect over the phone. So now he's down to trying to locate a brother and one more sister.
Yeah, they don't tell us how he got with the others, but I'm going to guess Wanda knew them.
Yeah, so Wanda's the first connection, and then it sounds like
he says he was able to connect with the rest besides the other two, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then we fast forward to 1980. So it's still a little ways longer. A New York Children's Aid Society researcher was able to locate a phone number for Bill's brother. His name's Ed. On Christmas Eve, hey, guys, Christmas Eve is coming. This is perfect timing. It was not even planned.
That's when this episode drops.
The Christmas Eve, the two siblings, Bill and Ed, are able to talk on the phone. It was very sweet because Ed explains that this was the best Christmas gift he could have ever experienced.
Well, he said with one phone call, my family grew immensely. I think he says how many, I don't remember, but yeah, that's what he tells us. He's very emotional about it.
Yeah, can you imagine finding out, because he obviously probably knew, I'm assuming that he was adopted. He didn't know how many or who all of it, because they were young,
younger than 8.
Yeah, so they probably have no memory of their early childhood.
Yeah. And
to then find out that you have several siblings. And so it was a very sweet interview. So finally, even it took another 8 years, 1988, they are able to all reunite for siblings except for Jackie.
Yeah, so 5 of them get together.
Yeah. So this is where Unsolved Mysteries comes in. They are looking for Jackie. So yeah, I mean, let's see. When did he send? So 1976 is when he first writes the letter to the clerk. The first clue he gets. After 20-something years of searching, he finally gets this little nugget. 1976. And then he's able to talk to his sister. And then 1980, he finds his brother. And we are now in 1988 before they're 12, all...
Well, I mean, obviously it took him longer than 12 years.
Yes,
he's been
but 12 years from the first real
connection
clue. Yeah.
To the point where they were able to meet together.
That's crazy to me.
But even in 12 years, he's still looking for one more sibling.
Yeah. So that's where they give us some information. They've got a few clues about the family that adopted her and different things like that. And they put this out for Unsolved Mysteries to try to help find her.
All right, what's our update?
So it's solved.
He found her.
Yep. Several tips coming in from the Unsolved Mysteries broadcast. Good job once again, Unsolved Mysteries.
There you go.
Most people claim to have known her, went to school with Jackie in the 1940s and 50s. They said that she had married and had possibly adopted 2 children. And That was one of the tipsters that came in. A local historian learned about Bill's research through Unsolved Mysteries broadcast and tried to help in the search. And then surprisingly, in 1997, Jackie herself came to Anita. A family that Jackie was visiting in Hartwick had known about Bill's search through Unsolved Mysteries and knew that Anita had been looking for Jackie. The family sent Jackie to her. Anita got in contact with Bill again, and within a few days, Jackie and her husband were reunited with Bill and his wife. In 2000, she was reunited with the rest of her long-lost siblings. So it took till the year 2000, which in my mind was just like 10 years ago.
It wasn't.
Yeah. So yeah, that's your guys' story. Thanks to Unsolved Mysteries, this whole like little town up in upstate New York knew about Bill's search, and obviously Bill's dedication and making contact with so many people. They were able, and unfortunately, between 2008 and 2016, most of the siblings had passed away, but
I'm sure
they got 8 years, I guess, together of knowing their completed family circle.
Yeah, at least he was able to do what he wanted to.
Yeah.
He reconnected with his
Exactly.
whole family.
So there you guys go. There's
Good
your
story.
Christmas miracle story.
There it is.
All right, Ben.
All right, this is not a Christmas.
Okay, I know.
story.
Maybe we should have ended with this one.
All right. Okay. You ready for this?
Yeah.
We got this is the story of Angelo Desideri.
Desideri. Yeah.
He's a businessman. Takes place in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, a little close to home.
All right, it was a Monday, June 5th. Mr. Desideri disappears. We don't know where he went.
Yeah, he's gone.
Up and gone.
Yeah.
Find out about him. He's 57. He was a businessman. He owned a shopping center.
Yeah.
And an
like
import.
a strip complex, like a whole mall.
Yeah.
And then he had a business also within that mall.
He had an import store.
Not export.
Import. And it looked like this whole story is connected to Italy and Italians.
Yeah. Leave that at what you will.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. So he's never married.
Nope.
Just kind of has done his own thing. Helped take care of his parents. He lives close, supposedly, to his parents.
Family's important. He's from Italy, and he's very wealthy.
Yeah. So a friend had stopped by to check on him. I guess his shop didn't open Monday
Yeah, the shop,
morning.
one of the ladies who owned a business down the way noticed that his shop wasn't open. That must have been abnormal.
I'm going to guess so.
Yeah.
So friend goes by. He sees alarm is off. He's looked through the window. It just doesn't add up. It looks like someone has just up and left. So he goes to the neighbor, calls 911. Police officer comes by, and they enter the house.
Yeah.
Looking for him. And we find out some clues. They're interviewing his friend that had gone. He went in with the police officer.
Do you know what was driving me crazy?
I can't wait.
Well, I know this is a reenactment, right? But this is potentially also like a reenactment of a crime scene. And the friend is just in there touching and picking up everything.
The true crime expert.
I know. I was like,
this is
don't
evidence.
touch
Don't touch
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking.
Like, why don't you just lick all the glasses while you're at it and just go to
Just
town?
spit on everything.
Yeah, everything.
Pull your hair out.
Yeah,
and
just start sprinkling
scattering
it around.
hairs all
Yeah.
over. You know.
I guess it bothered me because the guy was known to be like extreme OCD. His house was perfectly immaculate clean.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
This guy.
He was.
Let's just say there's probably a reason he's never been married by 57 years old.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple reasons, but one of them is he looked a little OCD.
Yeah, his house looked like you.
Which I can totally understand.
Yeah, Ben had to give up his OCD to get married.
When I saw his house, I'm like, I could get into this.
But my point was, okay, if there's anything, we could get some fingerprints or something off of this because there's not a hair out of place in that house.
Well, they say it looked like he had just up and left in the middle of making lunch.
Yeah.
There's a pot on the stove. There's something
Glass
in the
of
microwave.
wine and like some cheese and crackers out. Yeah.
They open the microwave. There's some food in there. They said the table, and they show the table.
Mm-hmm.
It has stacks of mail, and they said he had laid out bills that he was going to
And
pay.
it was not just laid out like
No.
You guys all know what your bill table looks like, right? It's
This
just kind of
wasn't
casually. This was
perfectly good.
everything was laid out, and I'm gonna guess it was in order of, but it was
Dude, I am
expert.
with this guy.
Yeah.
I am on board for this. They even said it was weird. There was 2 pairs of pants in a bag that he had purchased the day prior. So what they're saying this because why would he just up and leave?
Yeah.
When one of the big clues was they go into the garage, his Cadillac is gone, but his car cover, okay? So he was well known to take his car cover off and fold
Mind you,
it.
he has a car cover whilst also being in the garage, people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where I knew, he's definitely OCD.
Yeah.
And they said, his friend says, it was just crumpled
This is a
up
huge
on the
red
floor.
flag that this car cover was not expertly folded and put away properly.
Yes.
The fact that it was tossed onto the ground where it was just like unheard of. That was not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. The car cover is crumpled up,
Yeah.
not meticulously folded and put away properly. That's a big red flag.
Yeah.
And they search the house. Nothing is taken except, did you hear what they said?
Attaché.
An attaché.
But there was also like jewelry, and there was like
jewelry
I thought it
and
was
money.
Thought it was funny. Like nothing's missing except for a attaché and a handful of jewelry and cash. I was like, okay,
Okay.
that's
something.
That's something, because we're here in middle class Phoenix, right? This didn't look like some extravagant, fancy neighborhood. The guy was fairly well off, but again, his house was minimal to a T.
Yes.
So the things that are missing there are cash and jewelry.
And an attaché. Attaché.
So, okay, that to me was way more than just like, well, nothing was missing.
Except, that's literally what they said.
I'm like, so the stuff this person could sell and quickly pawn off and get rid of was missing? Okay. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah. So.
And the Cadillac is missing.
And his car is missing.
Yeah.
They then interview around. They talk to the neighbor. Mm-hmm. And he says he sees his Cadillac leaving. And in the reenactment, the guy is just barreling out of the driveway.
It's like
just backs up so fast, like Dukes and Hazzard style, and then drives away. And he says it was really weird for Angelo to just pull out without acknowledging him. I guess he didn't acknowledge the neighbor.
How rude.
Yeah. He did say he seemed taller than Angelo, but he couldn't tell if it was him or not.
Because he drove off so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard style.
Yeah.
He was slid across the hood and no, he didn't. Okay. Sorry. Anyways, so that's the house up and missing. They have no idea
they got nothing.
Why.
Yeah.
They're talking
Everyone
to the
is
detective.
confused.
And everyone's saying how a nice guy he is. He's just a good dude. He's helpful. He's nice to his neighbors, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
His neighbors know him. Whatever. The next day, well, I guess they found the house missing on Monday.
Okay.
Believe he left the prior day.
Sunday was, they believe, the
Sunday.
day that something happened.
The neighbor said he saw him
That's right,
leave
pull out on a Sunday.
on Sunday afternoon. It's 6:32 in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Cadillac on fire in San Diego. Oh,
There's our dog.
there's our dog barking in the background.
The Amazon probably just dropped something off, and she has an opinion about the Amazon
She
guy.
does not like it when anyone comes to the door.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a Cadillac on fire, San Diego Fire Department.
And it's a quick drive. For people who don't know, like, Phoenix to San Diego is a straight shot.
It's a 5-hour drive.
5-hour drive, like, down an interstate. It's easy peasy to get there. So it's not like this was a crazy far away.
So they put the fire out. They investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
They find out it's registered to him. They call Phoenix. Phoenix police are like, hey, we're actually looking for this guy. He's missing. They investigate the car. These are a few clues they give us. They say the ignition wasn't tampered with.
Yeah.
They tell us the trunk has no spare tire, no carpet, nothing in the trunk.
Yeah, that was sus right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole lining inside of the trunk is just metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they say it is clean.
Expertly clean.
They say it has been washed. And for a 5-hour drive from Phoenix they say there's no bugs on it at all. I guess
you've driven through the desert. Yeah.
It will not be clean.
Yeah.
So someone had clearly washed this thing and then burned it.
Yeah.
They find 2 witnesses that say they saw someone buy the car.
Yeah.
But it's a man. Could be Angelo.
Could
it could
be.
not.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Another. Yeah.
They say someone saw it within a minute or 2 of it.
Yeah.
Of the call coming through.
Yeah.
But she could not identify who it was.
Exactly.
So this is where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. And they keep talking. And now I find out why. I thought it was weird because the detective's like, listen, there might be a side of Angelo that we just don't know. There's just a missing piece.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
It's going to make sense.
Okay.
They're talking about, because I'm hearing this story, I'm pretty certain we know what happens. Mm-hmm. But they keep talking like he possibly just up and left. Or there's this dark side to Angelo.
Yeah, they make it sound like there's a possibility that he like ran away.
Mm-hmm. And the detective talks about it. I think there's just this missing piece. Once I find this missing piece, we'll be able to put it all together. We just want to know. It was weird the way they were talking.
Yeah.
I understand now why they were talking. They clearly knew more than what they were leading on to.
Got it.
At the Unsolved Mysteries. So Unsolved Mysteries says, hey, if you have any information, let us know. We're looking for him.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready for your update?
Yes.
And Angelo, I guess they kind of give us an update. They
kind of give us a little bit of one. Yeah. We find out that.
Yeah. So.
He's no longer with us.
Angelo has been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a guy, I guess the police were investigating him. His name is Joe Callow. They don't tell us how, but...
They just say it's like a business associate or something.
He's a business associate.
I feel like we've heard that term before in other stories we've talked about.
Let me give you this. Joe Callow knew some information about Angelo's disappearance, so the police interviewed him.
Yeah.
He then points the finger at another guy, and his name is James Majors. Joe Callow tells the police a story that James Majors killed Angelo. He shows up at Angelo's house, asks for a glass of water, and then robs him. Then takes his car, drives...
With him in it, like, also makes him leave.
Yeah. Leave with him. Drives to California, takes him somewhere, and kills him. Mm-hmm. Then the next day, goes to a hardware store and buys a pickaxe and a shovel, which you definitely need a pickaxe in Arizona.
Yeah, if you're going to dig in the ground anywhere around here.
If you want to dig a hole out here.
Yeah.
Takes him off some dirt road and buries him in a shallow grave by a big tree.
Yeah.
And then drives to San Diego.
Wait, no, first, he stops off.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, okay, this goes to show this guy knows what he's doing. He finds like a shack out in the desert, which these are not hard to find. These like homes that look like the next dust storm is going to blow them over. Pulls over and says to this little family, hey, do you want a brand new pickaxe and shovel?
And gives it to
them and drives off.
Goes to San Diego, washes the car, burns it.
Takes out the carpet in the back. Like that. This was
guess he was
expert level.
He was probably buried with the carpet.
Yeah, that's from my understanding. Yeah.
So the point I'm making, Joe Callow is telling the police that James Majors did all this. And Majors told him about it. Not only that, he then says, James Majors has a, what's the word I'm looking for? A storage locker.
Oh, yes.
The police search it and actually find stuff from Angelo's house in there. that's so Unsolved Mysteries gave us that.
Yeah, as the update.
As a little bit of the update. Then we find out. So Joe Callow was actually convicted, not James Majors, who he pointed the finger at. Joe Callow is convicted of the murder of Angelo Desideri.
Yeah.
Along with 6 other contract killings.
Yes.
He's convicted of 7 murders.
Murder for hire.
Yep. James Majors is not convicted of the murder of Desideri, but he was convicted of murder of 3 people in California and sentenced to death.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why that first guy ever came forward, because I'll tell you one thing these guys are going to do. There's no loyalty here. The moment he turned him in, the other guy was going to just turn around and rat him out for everything.
Yeah.
The house of cards came down fast.
So these 2 guys are both convicted of murder. And one of them is convicted for Angelo's murder.
How many murders between the 2 of them?
10.
Good night.
All right. So,
all part of the import-export business?
So I could go down a rabbit hole on this one. So let me give you what I have.
Okay.
Angelo's body was found.
Okay.
It was found on April 29th, 1989 near Kitchen Creek, California. And it was found by a tree in a shallow grave.
Okay.
So it appears that what Joe Callow was saying was true.
Okay.
Joe Callow was arrested in Arizona for these murders. He gave a statement. He spilled the beans. The reason he spilled the beans is because they offered him that they wouldn't put him to death. He'll give him life sentence. So he can confess to all this. This is his story. He did this at the behest of a drug dealer named Romano Sabroca, S-B-R-O-C-C-A, Sabroca. He is a restaurant owner in Phoenix.
Oh my goodness, we're back to the restaurants again.
An Italian restaurant owner in Phoenix, and he was running drugs. Mr. Desideri, Angelo, was helping bring in drugs, and he was doing the books for Mr. Sabroca.
Supposedly. There's again, the extra,
Yes. This is why...
He had a different life than what we might think of.
I'm going to guess that import business might have had something to do with importing drugs. And one of the restaurants that was implicated in this drug ring was in his shopping complex.
Okay.
There's actually multiple Italian restaurants connected to this Mr. Sabroca.
So this is like a mob thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all of this is according to Mr. Callow. Sabroca, he was the middleman. He's like, hey, I need to take care of this guy.
Okay.
Callow said that up to multiple people were contracted to kill. Between June of 1988 and February 1989, they killed 10 people. He would hire James Majors to do the killing for this drug dealer.
Okay.
That's kind of the short end of this. Yeah. So supposedly he was involved in drugs. But here's the crazy part.
Okay.
So I looked into this Sabroca guy.
Okay.
I found his obituary. And read it. Nothing about... This guy was never picked up for anything.
The original restaurant owner who was...
So, except for one time. So...
Does he still own places in Phoenix? Is there still some of these Italian restaurants up there?
He's dead now.
I understand that, but is there a family restaurant in Phoenix?
I don't know.
You guys, we need to find this out so we can go.
The restaurant they did say he owned, I looked it up. It's not in business.
It's not in business anymore.
But the reason Mr. Callow gave the statement is the police were trying to make a case against Mr. Sabroca, but they never could.
So Sabroca lived out his days.
So he
this family is still in Phoenix somewhere.
So Mr. Sabroca was arrested for drugs in 1989 by the FBI.
Oh.
There was a massive sting I guess there was police officers from Seattle and other places. Supposedly there was this big meet to launder money, and he was involved, and they arrested a bunch of people. Well, guess what? I could never find a conviction for this guy. And then he never got in trouble with the law. What does that make you think happened to Mr.?
Exactly.
He became an informant for the FBI. That's my guess. But yeah, this guy ended up going on and living out his days. But he was implicated in supposedly running a drug
Was his
ring.
obituary in Phoenix still? Was he still up there? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I read that. Anyways.
Well, I do love Italian food, so I don't care to be involved in the mob, but if the mob owns a restaurant in Phoenix, I'd love to go eat there because I bet the food's amazing.
So, but supposedly this was all tied to drugs. It was a contract killing.
Wow.
And this
is like a movie.
Yeah, which I thought there'd be a lot more written on this. There was some stuff I read it all. It was something crazy that some of the evidence they found to convict James Majors, the hitman, was his wife's diary. She was writing stuff that he was doing.
That's how her conscience was dealing with what she was.
And supposedly the 3 murders Mr. Majors was convicted of in California, it was a drug deal gone bad, and he killed all 3 guys at the same time. Like, there.
This is like, what was that TV show? Breaking Bad. There's all kinds of... There was a restaurant owner in Breaking Bad, and it's all in the middle of nowhere of New Mexico.
But Mr. Callow did implement that there was... I think he said 3 restaurant owners that were running this ring, and Angela was doing the books for him. Like,
I don't know. I don't know enough about the mob. You did some more like interesting stuff about it. It's so interesting to me. And I wonder if it's not as easy now, because I think a lot of them were cash businesses back then. If it was a lot easier to run things through there. Well,
and I'm going to guess his import business and that he was using to help launder money.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And obviously the restaurant was being
easy
used
place to
money.
launder money at. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. That's a wild story.
It gets a little wild. You could probably dig into it for a while, but I just...
How interesting.
Didn't want to go down the entire rabbit hole. I started going down the hole, but...
That's what she said. All right. So that is it, you guys. That is... season 1, what was this again? Episode 16. It was a wild case of stories.
Murder.
Yeah.
Lots of murder,
unfortunately. So, real quick, thank you guys again so much for everyone that has taken the time and the energy to rate and review us. We are so appreciative of that. If you haven't done so, we would kindly ask that you take just a few minutes to hop on to wherever you're streaming to rate and to review us. If everyone listening to this could just recommend this podcast to one person they know that is into true crime, that would be so helpful. You can contact Ben and I at unsolvedcouplepod@gmail.com. You can find us at on Instagram and TikTok at unsolvedcouplepod. And we have a Facebook discussion group where every week I post information of that week's episode for you guys to talk about. It's Unsolved Couple Podcast on Facebook groups. Okay, so Ben, here is your Christmas question.
My Christmas question.
All right. If you were in a Christmas movie, we're talking like the iconic Christmas rom-com movies, Hallmark Channel Christmas movies.
Rom-com?
What cliche character would you play?
What?
Yeah.
Rom-com? I can't just play the Grinch?
No, we're talking like the cheesy ones that you and I love watching and laughing in, and they are the same. We're talking about the cliche Hallmark Christmas movies. Somebody on a big city somewhere and a small farm and lost loves and all of this stuff, okay?
I'd just be the, what's that stupid, the girl's, she's the lawyer in New York and she has to go to this small town and the guy's just running his grandfather's in.
And the bank's going to take it away or something.
Take it away.
Yeah.
But he's just letting people stay for
free. And not charging anybody anything.
Because there's this terrible snowstorm.
And the whole little town's going to be devastated by it. Yeah, one of those. Who are you? What is the role in, like, the cliche role that you think you would love the most to like lean into?
None of them.
Ben is a background actor in those movies.
Just the guy in the back corner sitting by the fire, not wanting to talk to anybody.
You got to pick one because these movies are ridiculous, and you and I love watching and laughing at them. And just
then what was I saying? But I'll just be the guy running the desk.
Oh, okay, you're the front desk guy.
Just the front desk.
Okay. All right. So Ben is the broken-hearted, tragic boy in the play or in the movie who never got over the girlfriend or is just trying to keep the family business afloat and is not interested in love until she walks in the front door.
Until Sierra walks in. Because she's the big city girl.
It's funny. So I'll tell you this. When I watched these movies as like a teenager and in my early adulthood, I was like, who in their right mind chooses to leave New York City to go wherever they need to go back to the small town? Why? It never made sense to me.
Me.
Yeah. But now, being older and deciding that the cities are just way too much of a headache, I'm like, I get it. I would leave that city in a heartbeat.
Who are you? You're the girl coming in from the big city?
No.
Oh. What are you?
No, I don't. I honestly, yeah, I mean, probably either that or the like mom of either the daughter or the son that's struggling, that like secretly like knows how this is all going to play out, and they're just biding their time, waiting for you to realize that you're madly in love with this person, and also much happier back at the farmhouse or at the Christmas tree, whatever, or doing that. That's who I want to be. I want to be the mom that's just like, I'll be supportive of you, and I'm so glad you're home for the holidays, and I'm just going to keep my mouth shut until you realize.
Can I be the grumpy old dad then?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
what was that one we watched? There was what, the Tennessee Christmas or something like that?
Christmas in the Smokies.
Christmas in the Smokies. That's one of our favorites.
The old dad.
The old dad is like the Werther's original guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like just the one that departs the wisdom out onto his daughter who isn't. I think that's half the problem, is that both either the male and female characters in these movies, and that they just have to do this, are both idiots.
Yeah, but that's what makes it fun.
I know. That's what makes them fun.
I mean,
here's the thing. I'm not dogging on this. I love these movies. They are stupid and they are fun to watch, and I think you could, yeah, I mean, you and I enjoy sitting around watching them and laughing and having a good time and just like trying to guess what next cliche thing is going to be.
Well, they're all the same, but it's fun.
I know. I'm excited. I'm sure half of the people listening to it, I want to watch the Frosty's Christmas that came out on Netflix with the naked Frosty, the naked snowman.
I don't think
where she puts
naked.
this. Oh, he's naked. You don't. It's children friendly, but he
no
like
shirt.
has no clothes on in all of the things. But I've read reviews that this is like a funny and heartwarming and just like your classic silly Christmas movie. So it's on the list.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, guys. Well, we hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry whatever you're celebrating this week. And Ben and I will see you back next week, where we once again recap one of the original gateway drugs in a true crime.
Unsolved mysteries.
Bye.